A new group of candidates is hoping to inject some diversity into local, state, and federal governments across the country. More than 90 Muslim Americans are running for public office. The Washington Post is calling it the Blue Muslim Wave. The Post says that 90 candidates, nearly all of whom are Democrats, decided to run because of policies enacted by President Trump. Joining me now from Detroit is Rashida Tlaib. She's running for Congress in Michigan's 13th district, which includes parts of Detroit. Rashida, thank you for joining us. Why did you decide to run for Congress?
Well, I think a lot of people know my personal story of, growing up Muslim in America, but also my activism work throughout the city of Detroit. And the fact that my two boys were questioning their identity and questioning whether or not they should even share with other people that they are of a Muslim faith. So it was a very personal decision that I felt a tremendous need to get into the ring rather than sit on the sidelines. I always tell people, in some ways, Trump being elected president of the United States was kind of like the bat signal for many women across the country, not just Muslim women, but women from all backgrounds. And it was a call to say we have to act, and that's why so many women are running for office.
So your campaign is getting attention because you could actually be the first Muslim American woman in Congress. How would you describe your policy platform?
Well, my policy platform resonates with the families of the 13th Congressional District. I mean, people know I'm a social worker at heart, and getting people through everyday kinds of issues. As a former Michigan State representative, that's what I did. It was the heart of the office, and from anti-poverty programs to advocacy on all different levels of government. I mean, my policy stance is going to be about improving the quality of life of the families I represent. And it so happens I'm Muslim. And I think just being there with that kind of lens of growing up in the same county as many of the families I'm going to represent is important. But also, the fact that I would make history in becoming the first Muslim woman, especially during a time where people all across the country that share the same faith as I do are questioning whether or not they belong here. And me being elected is a big message to the whole country that we are part of the government, we are part of society, and that we want to give back just like anyone else.
3.3 million Muslims in America. They only hold 2 seats of the 535 on Capitol Hill. Why is that?
Oh, I don't know. I think it's probably because, so many of us haven't felt this need to run for office and to take these leadership positions. I mean, I think it's important to note to a lot of people out there that wonder why, people of color, it's really hard for us to decide to take that leap to be in the forefront of politics and the forefront of even just running for office. It can be overwhelming. And so that's why I think there's only 2 at this moment. But I mean, you have people from all different backgrounds right now taking the lead of running for office and the courage to stand up and say, you know what, I can do this. Clear out the room, boys. Let's put some women there, and let's deal with the gun crisis. Let's deal with immigration. Let's deal with all these crises that we have in our country. It's about time that maybe we get an opportunity to take a stab at it.
And when you look at the political landscape, President Trump won Michigan in 2016. You look at the last presidential election. He was the first Republican to do so since President George H.W. Bush. That was back in 1988. What pathway do you see for a progressive in a state that was carried by Trump? The county that my families live in, it's very progressive. It did not go to Trump. And one of the really important things to note is many of my families, especially in Michigan, all across the state, were not inspired to come out in November. I mean, if we just increase voter turnout by 2%, Donald Trump would not have become president of the United States. And I think it's really important that we have people like myself that grew up with the same challenges as the people that they want to represent, for it to be effective in getting people engaged, so we don't have situations where we have somebody that doesn't relate to someone that has been on Medicaid and has issues with Medicaid, or someone that's faced foreclosure. It's really important that we have somebody leading our country, and not only that, but members of Congress that have faced similar challenges while they've been in, been in their communities. So the Michigan's 13th district, the election that you're running to replace Congressman John Conyers, who left Congress after following harassment claims, that's one election. But you're also running to fill his seat after his term expires in January 2019. So there are 2 elections being held on the same day. Do you worry that voters will get confused by all of that?
Absolutely. I'm on doors every single day talking to families. They are confused because this is 2 elections on 1 ballot. And also the absurdity of the fact that we didn't even have an early election, a special election earlier, and not having representation for 11 months. Many people don't even understand that this would just fill in the 6 weeks left in the year after the November election. And then they would also be voting for someone to fill in for the 2 years, the full term. And, you know, we're out there trying to educate people. We're doing sample ballots. We're trying to go to as many people as possible to educate them that this is a special and a regular election. Absolutely, we're very worried about the confusion, and we're trying to work with our local clerks as well as our county clerk, Kathy Garrett, to making sure that people have the information they need before they vote.
Rashida, do you agree with the Washington Post that we're going to see a blue Muslim wave this midterm cycle?
Absolutely. There's so many Muslim Americans running across the country, not only for Congress, but for local offices. And even in our state here, you have a governor, Dr. El Sayed, who's running and possibly could become the first Muslim governor ever. These are incredibly talented, inspirational neighbors of ours that happen to be Muslim. And, you know, they wear their faith on their sleeve, but at the same time, you know, you can feel their passion to give back and their passion to represent families that they really want to fight for. And that is so motivating and inspiring, not only for Muslims, but, you know, maybe that young Latino or the African-American young person, anybody that could kind of feel a sense of connection with someone that may not necessarily, you know, look like them, but have similar backgrounds and challenges because of their color of their skin or because of their different faith background.
Rashida Tlaib, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.